Chairman of Prajna Foundation, welcoming you all for Prajna Prerana Talk of the Week. Today's speaker is Dr. Arvind Kulkarni, who is PhD from Astrophysics, who was Director of Planetariums at Vadodara and Jaipur. He has many research papers for his credits, nearly 18 research papers in observational astrophysics. He has taught physics, mathematics, statistics in several colleges and schools in and around Bangalore from 1990 to 2015. He taught physics and maths at ACE Bangalore for 12 years from 1998 to 2010. He has also taught for NEET, JEE, KCET for physics and mathematics. He is currently interested in advocacy of artificial intelligence and quantum among the learning population across India via Zoom. He is passionate about teaching young learners, learning developer, science communicator, even languages, English, Kannada, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, and so on. So we are very fortunate to have Professor Arvind Kulkarni for today's talk. Over to Professor Arvind K. Kulkarni.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be with Professor Mahesh Arvind. We introduced to each other about a month ago, and in such a short time, he thought that I am fit to give a lecture in his wonderful organization. I really don't know how much success, how much justice I'll do, but I'll do my best and try to bring in address the issues that are relevant to us. Okay, first of all, the concept of Prajna. The title of my talk is Prajna, the quintessential wisdom. Prajna is, as you know, a Sanskrit word and taken by most of the Indian languages, of course. But not only Indian languages, Sanskrit has been taken substantially by most of the Indo-European languages also. You must have heard about the word precognition or cognition. Cognition itself has a cognate root of prajna, jna part of it, G and N together, or sometimes D and N together, and precognition again refers to the pra part of it. So coming to the etymology of prajna, I would like to say that the word prajna is derived from Sanskrit and is compound of two words, pra and jna. A prefix meaning for or forward or before or preeminent, and connected by jna, that is a root meaning to know, to understand, to perceive. So you understand how English and Sanskrit are sufficiently close. For your information, the word look, L-O-O-K, look, has also a Sanskrit root. Many of the people may not be knowing. Say, for example, lochana. Lochana and look have the same root. So there is a huge, that is transfer of words and transfer of language from Indic sources to Europe in the last couple of thousand years. Now, coming to the topic, now first of all, what is prajna? Now it is known that there are four types of this word: prajna, prajna, rajna, and prajna. One is a prajna is the original word. Prajna becomes a noun. Prajna becomes a possessive. The possessive. For example, there is a place called Prajna Pathashala in Y in Maharashtra. Y is in Satara district, and it is told that in this Prajna Pathashala which Chhatrapati Shivaji supported strongly. A lot of activities happened during the time of Shivaji and his fight against the Mughals and other things. Okay, so it has that importance. Now, Prajna comes in variety of situations we will discuss later. Prajna basically means wisdom, the ability to discern what is true, right and lasting, insight, judgment and understanding of the fundamental truth. I would like to bring it out here that in India, in Indic culture, we separate the body, then the self is constituted of the body, the mind, the intellect, the ahankara and the chitta. Okay, I will come to that issue later. But first of all, to clarify the word, this means wisdom or intelligence or understanding, discernment, knowledge, insight, sagacity and higher knowledge, spiritual wisdom. All these are similar to what can go as Prajna. Prajna, Sanskrit is a more condensed kind of a language, so therefore you will have many meanings to one word. Now, I have already discussed the etymology of the word Prajna. Then we will now go to what is called as the Panchakoshas. The Panchakosha theory is important because we define in Taittiriya Upanishad beautifully describe the human being as comprising of 5 interpenetrating layers or sheaths one within the other. Something like the Russian dolls. There is a big Russian doll, within that there is a smaller one, within that there is a smaller one and smaller one. So the Russian doll model is an ideal to think about here. So we have 5 koshas. Koshas means layers. One is the Annamaya kosha, the food sheath. The second is the Pranamaya kosha, the vital energy sheath. That is the way we take in oxygen and absorb it. The third is the Manomaya kosha. Now, the Annamaya kosha and Pranamaya kosha, when their needs are met, the next thing is the Manomaya kosha or the mental sheath. So you have to. So first of all, you take care of the body fully by proper food and exercises. Then go to the proper oxygen, the Pranamaya kosha, the vital energy. Then you come to the Manomaya kosha, that is the mental health. And then you move on to Vijnanamaya kosha. Vijnanamaya kosha is the intellectual as the wisdom sheath, wisdom layer. And after that comes what is called as the Anandamaya kosha or the bliss sheath. So these are one within the other. The wellness of one depends on the wellness of the previous one. So when your food requirements are met, this is something like that. The Maslow's level of satisfying. Maslow does pretty much the same thing, but he is not as situated as it is here. So the Annamaya kosha, the Pranamaya kosha, the Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, and then the Anandamaya kosha. These are the 5 sheets we talk about in our culture. Then I would like to go to what Mandukya Upanishad says. Mandukya Upanishad says regarding the Prajna. Okay, Mandukya is one of the earliest Upanishads, one of the shortest Upanishads, and it has a huge impression on Indian culture. Its date can be approximately 2,500 to 3,000 years or even earlier. The Mandukya Upanishad, a concise yet profound text within Upanishadic corpus, delved into the mystical significance of syllable Om and its connection to our 4 states of consciousness. Within this framework, Prajna is introduced as the 3rd state of consciousness, corresponding to the deep, dreamless sleep. So first thing is the Jagrata state, then comes the dream state, then the deep sleep state, and after Prajna is one more state called as the Turiya state, of which we will not be talking now. That is not the subject of today's talk, so we will stop at this. Now, what are the characteristics of this Prajna or the deep sleep state? It is that it is a unified consciousness. By unified consciousness, I mean, for example, the consciousness breaks up when the I and you become separated, or me and the other become separated. So here it is not that. Unified consciousness, then it's the absence of cognition. absence of cognition means understanding by superficial intelligence is not the issue here. The understanding is straight away to the topic, to the real truth. Then a third thing is it has a blissful nature. The prajna has a blissful nature. So the one who is a prajna, who has achieved a certain level of prajna, will be always in a blissful state. Then there is a causal body. Prajna is associated with causal body, or what is called the karana sharira, which is the subtlest of the three bodies, gross, subtle, and the causal bodies. It holds the potential of seat of all experiences. Then it's a doorway to other states, of turiya on the higher side, and the lower side, or it is the dream, sleep, dream and the jagrata state. Then it corresponds to the letter M in Om. Notice that the word Om starts with the navi and U in the chest and Ma at the tip of the mouth, tip of the lips. So Om, so at the end of M, so this corresponds to the letter M. The Turiya will correspond to the silence that comes after M. Notice that it is A-U-M is one thing, but there is a silence there. That silence takes care of the Turiya state. That is the significance of the Prajna is that in a sense it is depicted not simply as a state of sleep, but a profound aspect of consciousness, a state of undifferentiated bliss, and a potential source of all our walking and dreaming experiences to understand the deeper reality of the self. Now, we'll go to the next topic of how this prajna is seen in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, as you know, are probably about 2,200 years old, and it is written in the same place as we would say it is Afghanistan. Afghanistan was Pathan, and the Patanjala, the Patanjala and Pathan are the same, they are cognate words. So understand that this comes from a place as far as Afghanistan, and similar to Panini. Panini, if some of you would like to know, that he was from Sindh area. Unfortunately, we have lost Sindh to some other country, and Afghanistan has gone away. But it is time to take them back, and I'm sure the Indic Renaissance will take care of it. Prajna in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it is a result of in Yoga Sutra he talks about Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha in Sutra 1-2. This Chitta Vritti Nirodha is required because Chitta is our most essential vibration of the body. Then we go to the next issue of where Prajna comes into the picture, and that is called Ritambhara Prajna. Ritambhara means truth-bearing wisdom. Wisdom is there, intelligence is there, but it needs to be qualified with what is called as a truth-bearing. It can bear untruth also. Wisdom can bear untruth also. So we have to, when we say Ritambhara, Rita means something that is true, something that is cyclical, correct and appropriate, and Ritambhara Prajna, it comes in Sutra 1.48. Okay, in that deep samadhi, the wisdom is truth-bearing or Ritambhara. The Sutra highlights a specific quality of Prajna that arises in the advanced stage of samadhi, and we are talking here about an unwavering truth. The truth that does not keep shifting, but it is unwavering. Also, it is a direct experience, not indirect, not told by somebody or read somewhere, but it is a direct experience, and it's an intuitive understanding. Intuitive understanding. Now, to give an example of what this intuitive understanding is, I'd like to go back to Professor August Kekule. August Kekule, I am a professor of chemistry here, Mahesh Arvind sitting. August Kekule, he was a German chemist, organic chemist, and in 1860s, I'm talking about almost 70 years ago, he used to stay in London, and he used to sit at a London bus, and move from one place to the other without any reason. Alright, he will pay the bus charges and move. When somebody asked him, why are you doing this? He said that I am trying to meditate, I am trying to figure out. Ultimately, in one of the flashes, he gets the structure of the benzene. You know that benzene molecule is a 6 carbon connected molecule, and this idea comes to him when he observes that it is similar to a snake eating its own tail. snake eating its own tail. I brought this example, and especially this organic chemistry example, because it stuck to me, saying that this is what intuitive understanding is. Till 1860, structures in organic chemistry were not very much known, and people were really worried. And now, as you know, organic chemistry is full of huge structures, and there are more than 1 million organic chemicals that are there. This is one of the examples from modern science. There are many such things. Say, for example, concept of a black hole. I mean, Mr. Schwarzschild in 1915 he was fighting a war during the First World War for the Germans, and when the war was going on, he was hiding at a place, and there was a correspondence between Einstein and himself. And in such a situation, in a war situation, when Mr. Schwarzschild is fighting the war, he hiding himself against the enemy, he gets the idea of a black hole. All I want to tell you is that the scientific mind or any contemplative mind, when it focuses on an issue, it gets the result. Doesn't matter whether it's in the laboratory or at home or moving in a bus or anywhere. So this is what is known as the intuitive understanding. Intuitive understanding. Now there are 7 stages of Prajna, as mentioned in Sutra 2.7 by Sutra 227 in Patanjali Yoga Shastra. The 7 stages are the cessation of suffering that has to be that has yet to manifest, the ability to avoid future suffering, the distinction between the seer, Purusha and the Prakriti, the liberation from misconceptions of identifying the Purusha with the modification of Prakriti, the realization that the mind has served its purpose, the resolution of the mind's connection with the gunas, the 3 gunas, the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas gunas, the fundamental constituents of nature, and the final liberation of the Kaivalya, where the Purusha abides in its true independent nature. So, Prajna in the Yoga Sutras is not just an intellectual prowess, but a transformative, intuitive wisdom that dawns as the mind is purified and still through yogic practices. It's a truth-bearing knowledge which that leads us to the profound understanding and ultimately to liberation. Yet another concept of these Prajna concept comes in the Mahavakyas. The 4 Mahavakyas of the Vedanta Darshana are Prajnanam Brahma. The first is Prajnanam Brahma, which comes in Aitareya Upanishad in Rigveda. Then comes Aham Brahmasmi from Yajurveda, it is in Brihadaranyaka. Then comes Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi is in Chandogya Upanishad, it comes in Samaveda. And lastly, Ayamatma Brahma comes in Mandukya Upanishad in Atharva Veda. Okay, so these are, especially they are true for Advaita Vedanta, which emphasizes the non-dual nature of reality, and they serve as points of deep contemplation for realizing the ultimate truth of oneness. Then I go to the concept of Sthita Prajna as given in Bhagavad Gita. Notice that Prajna is there, then Sthita is the adjective to that. First of all, that your intelligence, your ability to deal with the world with understanding needs to be stable. Otherwise, in an unstable environment, you cannot do anything. The concept of Sthita Prajna appears in the 2nd chapter in the Bhagavad Gita in what is called as the Sankhya Yoga of steady wisdom, a stable intellect. And here it is firmly establishes that the self of the Atman has divine consciousness. Arjuna, bewildered and grief-stricken, wants to know how such a person who is a Sthita Prajna behaves, and Krishna answers his questions. Okay, you can read it from verse 54 to 72. I will not go into the details except mentioning the main points. First thing is, he is free from desire. The Sthita Prajna is free from desires. Now, do not consider desire as a want. Desire, you see, the bodily wants are one thing, and desires are overgrown on that. Equanimity in pleasure and pain. Equanimity in pleasure and pain. Verse 56. Then the detachment from the external world. Verse 57. Control of the senses, a very important issue. Control of the senses. Steadfast intellect. Intellect should be steadfast. We should not keep on wavering. When the mind is not driven by wandering senses, the intellect becomes stable. So the mind has to be stable enough to keep the intellect stable. Then peace and tranquility. Always a Chittaprajna person will be peaceful and tranquil. Absence of ego and possessiveness, verse 71, and attainment of Brahman, verse 72. So these are the essential features of what is called as the Chittaprajna, where the inner stability and wisdom by detaching from worldly desires and dualities, not worldly actions, worldly desires. This state is the ideal spiritual realization described in the early part of the Bhagavad Gita and setting the stage for the further teachings of different paths from the success. Then I move on to one great offshoot of Hinduism, which is Buddha Darshana. Okay, especially the Mahayana part of it. The Mahayana Buddhism, in Mahayana Buddhism, Prajna is a crucial concept of often translated as wisdom, insight, or understanding. It goes beyond the mere intellectual knowledge. Notice that there is a text called Prajna Paramita Sukta. Prajna Paramita Sukta has 8,000 verses, not any less. And to study the whole book is really one full life's achievement. And those who are expert in Buddhist Darshana, they, especially in Mahayana Buddhism, they value the book very much. Understanding emptiness. Now the Shunyata concept. Now there is an overlap of thinking between Shunyata of Mahayana Buddha Darshana and also the Advaita. Advaita doesn't talk about Shunyata. Advaita talks about the undifferentiated consciousness, whereas Buddha talks about the Shunyata. Okay, at its core, Prajna in Mahayana involves realizing the emptiness of all phenomena. Then I go to Prajna Paramita, the perfection of wisdom. Now Buddha says that Prajna is the sixth and the most crucial six perfections of Paramita. Paramita means perfection. Dana is one, generosity, Shila, ethical conduct, Shanti, that is patience, then Virya, effort or enthusiasm, Dhyana, meditation, and finally comes the Prajna or the wisdom, Prajna Paramita. So Prajna Paramita has given a special status, and then we go to beyond. Now these are all beyond conceptual thought. The issue of concept is not there because concept is like a fruit. I extend my intellect and try to pluck a fruit. Okay, so that becomes my concept and I work on that. Now this is beyond the conceptual thought. It is essential for liberation. If liberation is an issue, then compassion and skillful means. The method has to be compassionate and skillful. In that sense, karuna or compassion becomes important. Probably this is where even Jesus agrees. Jesus also talks about karuna in a big way, as those who are expert in Christian religious thinking know. Then there are three types of wisdom, three types of prajna. One is the Shrutamayi prajna, wisdom gained from hearing or studying of the teaching, Shrutamayi prajna. I read the text as I am reading now and hear from an expert. Second thing is the Chintamayi prajna, wisdom gained from reflection or contemplation. For example, what August Kekula did was the Chintamayi prajna. So he kept on thinking about it for maybe 6 months or a year, and ultimately he gets the structure of the benzene ring. And once he gets the ring structure, many more molecules of that type follow. Then comes the Bhavanamayi prajna, wisdom gained from meditative cultivation. This is extremely important, Bhavanamayi prajna. In a sense, the prajna in Mahayana Buddhism is the penetrating wisdom that directly realizes the empty and interdependent nature of reality and forming the cornerstone of what is called as the Bodhisattva. I move on to now Jain Darshana. In Jain Darshana, prajna generally refers to a higher form of wisdom, intelligence and understanding. It goes beyond ordinary knowledge gained through senses and intellect. Here is the breakdown of how prajna is understood with the Jain cosmological, Jain philosophical framework. Higher state of knowing, which is other than the Mati prajna and the Shruta prajna. Mati prajna is what your basic sensory senses tell you, and Shruta prajna is what you hear. Okay. For example, then the second thing is the discernment and right understanding of the jiva and the non-jiva and the ajiva. then foundation for liberation of called as the moksha, three jewels of Triratna of moksha are right faith, samyak darshana, right knowledge, samyak jnana, and right conduct, samyak charitra. Prajna underpins the right faith and the right knowledge. Behind intellectual understanding, while intellect is involved in prajna, transcends mere intellectual grasp. Understand that the Western word intellect is highly limited. We do not have that word. Intellect has its role, but intellect is the lower thing here. Deeper intuitive insight is what we are talking about. Now, if you study mathematics, you will again understand what deeper intuitive thought is. For example, if there are two lines which are not parallel to each other, okay, two lines not parallel to each other, you take 3 points on one line, take other 3 points on the other line, name them as 1, 2, 3 and 1 dash, 2 dash, 3 dash. You join 1 dash to 3 dash, 2 dash to 2 dash, 2 to 2 dash and 1 dash to 3 dash. You will find that the two intersecting points happen to be on the three intersecting points will be there, crossing 1, 3, 1, 2 and 2, 3, 2, 2. All the 3 points will always be on the same line. Now this is very, very interesting. Notice that to come to such a result, you need to have proper, that is intuition about it. Without the intuition, it is not possible. So that's the point I wanted to indicate here. Beyond intellectual understanding, while intellect is involved, prajna transcends the mere intellectual grasp. It involves a deeper intuitive insight. Mathematicians know how various theorems come into the picture and how it is dealt with. This is related to Jnana Darshana. In Jnana Darshana, they talk about Kevala Jnana or Kevala Darshana. In essence, Prajna in Jainism signifies developed state of wisdom and understanding that is essential for spiritual progress and to know the true nature of reality without delusion and without clarity. Okay. Then I go to Prajna in Sikhism. I did some work and I found that Prajna word is not used in Sikhism anywhere. Sikhism is about 500 years old, that's 550 years old. It's not a direct or commonly used term in Sikhism, but there are similar words. For example, Jnana is there, Viveka is there, and Suj is there. Suj means understanding, Viveka is Viveka, from Sanskrit, and Jnana is this. They talk about meditation, Simran they call it in Punjabi, study of the Guru Granth Sahib and selfless service, that is seva and living truthfully, that is Satchara, Satcha Achari Satchara, and therefore, although there is no, this word Prajna has not been used anywhere in Sikh understanding, Prajna isn't prevalent in Sikh vocabulary, but the underpinnings definitely are there and it has been picked up from there also. Then I come to Prajna in Sri Aurobindo Ghosh. Aurobindo Ghosh also does not mention the word Prajna anywhere in his huge literature in English and some in Punjabi. I learned some in Bengali, and I learned that to understand Jnaneshwara, the 12th century, 13th century saint of Maharashtra, he learned Marathi to understand what Jnaneshwara said, because Jnaneshwara wrote in Marathi only. Okay, but most of Aurobindo's writings are in English and some in Bengali. He did not use the word Prajna, but definitely the concept it embodies are deeply resonant with the integral yoga and its understanding of consciousness. Understanding beyond the mind, the layers of the structures of the mind, then intuitive knowledge, integral knowledge, supermental consciousness. Supermind is a level of consciousness where knowledge is inherent. And then he talks about equality and understanding, the core essence of Prajna as supreme wisdom. The ascent towards the supermind as mother, one of his disciples talks about ascent towards the supermind, pursuit of integral knowledge, and his teaching provides a path to cultivate the kind of profound and direct understanding that Prajna tends to represent. Now I go to Prajna in Srimad Bhagavatam. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Prajna, it is comes here as the word is used in the core meaning of discernment, intelligence, understanding, and wisdom. In Srimad Bhagavatam 761.761, you have the word Prajna used, and distinguishing right from wrong, Kushala Prajna, he said, Srimad Bhagavatam 765, opposite of ignorance and Prajna, steadiness of consciousness, and etc. There is Srimad Bhagavatam 761 and 765 also mentions the concept of Prajna, of which I will not go into the details. I move on to Gaudapada's Mandukya Karika. I have talked about Mandukya Upanishad, a very famous Upanishad, and Gaudapada wrote the Mandukya Karika, and in Mandukya Karika, authored by Gaudapada, not is a significant text in Advaita Vedanta. He talks about Vaishwanara, that is the waking state, Taijasa, dreaming state, and Prajna, the deep sleep, and the fourth state is Turiya, as I mentioned earlier. Prajna is the third state of consciousness discussed in both Mandukya Upanishad and the Gaudapada's Karika. Here is what the texts say about it. Mandukya Upanishad describes Prajna as the state of deep sleep where there is no desire and no dreams. It is a unified state of consciousness, a mass of consciousness, Gana Prajna, or Prajnananda Gana. Then Prajna is full of bliss, Anandamaya, and experience bliss, Anandabhuk. So the Prajna is full of this itself and it experiences. Notice that here the subject and object tend to merge, Anandabhuk, meaning the one who feeds on Ananda. It's a doorway to the knowledge of both the dreaming and the waking states. Prajna is the Lord of the Sarveshwara, the knower of all, Sarvajna, and the controller, Antaryami. It is the source and the place of dissolution of all beings. Source and the place of dissolution of all beings. Now, Gaudapada's Karika, in the Karika, Prajna is further analyzed in relation to other states and underlying reality. Its characteristic state is a non-cognition. It is not a cognitive state, a karanat, he says. And the Karika points out that in Prajna, the duality of subject and object is absent. Okay? This is very, very important, but the potential for it in the form of seed is always there. The Karika uses the analogy of seed to explain Prajna, and manifested state from which the waking and the dreaming state arises. That is regarding the perception of duality lies dormant, recognizing the true nature of Prajna as non-dual and source of otherness is a step forward toward Turiyaga, the ultimate reality. Prajna is not the end point, ultimate end point is the Turiya, but Prajna is a definite state. You cannot escape Prajna. If you want to go on the fourth floor, you have to go to the third floor, something like that. Then Prajna is in Kashmir Shaiva Darshana. Prajna in Kashmir Shaiva Darshana refers to supreme consciousness, wisdom and insight. It's not merely intellectual understanding, but rather a direct, intuitive and liberating awareness of ultimate reality, the non-dual Shiva. Now here is the breakdown. Intrinsic nature of Shiva, Shakti, Shakti of Paramashiva, supreme reality in Kashmir Shaivism. Recognition, this is an important concept here. Recognition is pratyabhijna of Abhinava Gupta. Abhinava Gupta talks about pratyabhijna. It's not about acquiring something new, but realizing what has always been. It is beyond intellect. While intellect can be a tool, Prajna transcends mere intellectual comprehension and is a holistic understanding that integrates feeling, intuition and direct experience. Liberation is the goal. Liberation, realizing the Prajna is the key to liberation, moksha in Kashmir Shaivism. By recognizing our true nature as pure consciousness, we are free from limitations of ego, duality and cycle of birth and death. Then the insight is spontaneous. Prajna often arises as a spontaneous flash of insight or a direct knowing that dawns with the practitioner as a product of spiritual practice as well as the grace of the Guru. Unobstructed knowledge. Prajna is unobstructed knowledge free from the distortions of the mind and the senses. It perceives reality as it truly is, the unified field of consciousness. Then it's a connection to Shakti. Prajna is intimately connected to Shakti, the dynamic energy of Shiva. It is through Shakti that Shiva's consciousness manifests and that the individual can recognize their own Shiva nature. In a sense, Prajna in Kashmir Shaivism is the luminous non-dual awareness that is ground of all being and means by which we recognize our inherent divinity. It is a wisdom that liberates us from the illusion of separateness and establishes us in the blissful unity of Shiva. That is regarding the Kashmir Shaivism in short. What's the time available? Time is over. I will take a couple of minutes in one very important thing I wanted to mention, that Prajna is mentioned by Adi Shankara also, 8th century I think. He talks about the mass consciousness and he talks about Anandamaya, etc. We will not go into that, I don't have time. Then I go to Bharati. In Indian psychology there is mention of Prajna. Prajna in Bharatiya. You will not find it in Western psychology because Western psychology somewhat stops at the intellect and they talk about precognition, but here it is much deeper. You will find it in Yoga philosophy, Vedanta philosophy, Buddhism and Ayurveda also. In Ayurveda, Charaka Samhita, Charaka use Prajna as emerging when the mind is free from worldly attachments, leading to an unbiased understanding of knowledge and discriminative intellect. This supports a holistic view of health encompassing both physical and psychological well-being. General Indic thought, we talk about moksha, atman and avidya. Key characteristics of prajna are experiential, transformative, liberating and holistic. It is a state of profound insight that transforms one's perception and being. Now I conclude my talk with the last piece on how to develop prajna, because that is more practical. We need to develop prajna. Notice that now suddenly the educational format is changed over, and to develop, understand AI, etc., we need to develop a proper prajna. Prajna in Sanskrit signifies profound wisdom, knowledge and intelligence, and to develop prajna is a journey that involves cultivating both inner and outer practice. Here are some steps you can take. I am going to mention about 6 steps. Cultivate self-awareness. Self-awareness is mindfulness and meditation. Regular mindfulness and meditation is required every day in the morning. If you get up around 3:30 or 4 and sit for about 20 minutes or half an hour, that will help you quite a lot. Mindfulness, meditation, self-reflection and observe your own reactions. Second thing is seek true knowledge. True knowledge, study wisdom traditions of different cultures, engage in lifelong learning. Learning never stops, so lifelong learning, discern information. The moment the information comes, do not accept it immediately. Think about it, how much is to be correct and how much is the truth. And now there are a lot of fake news and fake ideas are coming up. We need to be guarding ourselves. Third thing is develop ethical conduct. Without ethical conduct, prajna cannot grow because prajna is connected to the ultimate universe and non-ethical conduct is not going to help you anywhere. Practice honesty and integrity. Cultivate compassion and empathy. Life in accordance with the universal values is important. Universal values are very important and only through them you can access prajna. Then define your perception, whatever you call as perception. You practice detachment, develop intuition, look beyond the surface. For example, do not think that the waves of the ocean are the ocean itself. Waves of the ocean are only the waves that you can see, but the ocean is much bigger, much deeper, much wider. Then integrate knowledge and experience. This is very important. We have to integrate information to knowledge and knowledge to experience. Apply learning. Don't just accumulate knowledge, actively apply what you learn in your daily life. Learn from experience. Reflect on your experience, both positive and negative, to gain deeper insights. See challenges as opportunities for growth. There is no challenge which is not an opportunity for growth. Some challenges appear difficult, some appear easy. Those which appear difficult have to be turned into an opportunity itself. Seek guidance from wise individuals. Spend time with people whom you admire for their wisdom and learn from their perspectives. Cultivate a calm and focused mind. This is extremely important. Extremely important. Reduce mental clutter, minimize distractions and unnecessary mental chatter. Practice concentration, develop the ability to focus your attention fully on present moment. Manage stress, employ healthy coping mechanisms to deal with stress and maintain mental equilibrium. Embrace humility and open mindedness. We need to be open minded enough to all views and opinions and try to accept them and consolidate and within us as much as possible. Recognize the limits of your knowledge. Knowledge is limited, but when you with Prajna you will realize that the more knowledge becomes progressively larger and larger in content. Then be open to different perspectives. Let go of dogmatism. We carry a lot of dogmatism by habit and we need to go away from that. So with this I close my talk and once again thanking Professor Mahesh Arvind for having given me this opportunity. I hope it will help some people who listen to this talk patiently. There are many points. I need to have covered another 15-20 minutes, but it is not important. The basic issue is that Prajna is something that everyone must grow, must become aware about it and realize that it is not just the intelligence, it is something that gives rise to intelligence. So that is the issue. Namaskar. Thank you.
So today's talk was related to Prajna. So the meaning of Prajna and its significance has been very clearly mentioned through various theories, facts and so on. Sir has narrated it through quoting Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism and so on. He has also touched its relevance in Bhagavad Gita and Patanjali Sutras. So finally he has, on behalf of Prajna Foundation and on behalf of all the viewers and on my own behalf, I profusely thank Professor Arvind Kulkarni sir. So he has enlightened us about Prajna through his talk. Sir, thank you very much for the wonderful talk, for giving your valuable time to enlighten everybody. So if you have any queries, any questions, you can raise it. It's time for you. You can send it in chat, or you can mail it to Prajna Foundation 21@gmail.com. We will try to answer it. And also your feedback regarding the talk. Thank you so much.
ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಫುಲ್ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಬೇರೆ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಸೆಪರೇಟ್